time now for us to bring in Mr. Sanjiv Goenka and Keshav Bansal into the show. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on NDTV 24/7. Mr. Goenka, if I could quickly begin with you first. Before we talk about what happened in the auction and the players that you bought, we have to talk about the one thing which has been making headlines for quite some time now, ever since you announced that MS Dhoni has now been replaced as your team captain by Stephen Smith. Now, Dhoni has been a very popular captain for Team India overall. Replacing him as captain must have been a tough decision for the team management to make. What made the team decide that it was perhaps time for someone like Stephen Smith to take over?
Well, quite honestly, before I say anything else, let me say that I myself have been a huge fan of Dhoni. Right. And in the last 14-15 months that I've interacted with him, my respect and admiration for him has grown. His mind is unbelievably sharp. He's cool, he's calm, he's a great leader. We did believe that it's time to have a younger person leading the side. And so we looked around the options that we had. So we had Faf, we had Stephen Smith, and we had Ashwin. But I was very impressed with the way Steve had actually marshalled Australia. And given that he virtually rebuilt the Australian team over the last 18-20 months, right. I was very impressed with that. And I was very impressed with the way he unified the team. So I felt that he'd be a great fit.
Right, so clearly you wanted to go for a younger captain and also someone who's still captaining in international cricket. Dhoni, of course, has stepped down as captain from all three formats now. But do you think, Mr. Goenka, that somewhere down the line your fan base might be affected? Is that a fear there somewhere in the team management? After all, you are replacing an Indian captain with a foreign one for the Indian Premier League.
I don't believe so. I think the fan base is eventually dependent upon the performance of the team. If we perform well, I think our fans will grow. Last year we didn't perform well, so our fan base was lower than what it could have been. I certainly expect it to end higher this year. Since we are talking about captains and captaincy, Keshav, let me quickly go across to you for this one. Now, interestingly, at the auction today, the Kolkata Knight Riders were the only team that had their captain present physically at the auction. But what kind of feedback or advice did you take from your team captain, Suresh Raina, ahead of the player auction this time?
Well, Raina was involved at every stage. It's broadly, most of the picks are done by, the decisions are made by the coach and the captain. So the captain has a very, very important role to play because he's the one who's inside the rope and leading the side, you know. So it's really important for him to have a comfortable rapport with all the players and having the right team who goes on the field. So Raina's selections were quite important and of course coupled with Brad's thoughts. So all in all, it's a great team effort.
Right. Keshav, you bought 11 players in the auction today. Interestingly, you went after players like Manpreet Dhoni and Munaf Patel. Now, some would consider them to be somewhat fringe players now, perhaps past their prime. What was the team's strategy there?
Well, see, both of them have played IPL in the past. They've got good experience. Manpreet specifically is a great lad. I mean, he can bowl really well. So I think with the kind of setup we have, with the coach especially pushing in for him, and our coach Brad Hodge was quite certain that he'll be able to bring out the best from him. So I think IPL is, I personally feel, is more about pushing the domestic Indian talent, you know, and I strongly believe in that. So I think, and Munaf again has a lot of experience. So if given the right chance and guided properly, these guys will do well.
Right, Indian players, of course, are the backbone of the Indian Premier League. Going back to Mr. Goenka, sir, what was the strategy behind breaking the bank really for Ben Stokes? He was, of course, expected to be perhaps the biggest foreign attraction in this particular player auction. But 14.5 crore rupees, sir, that price, I have to say, has raised quite a few eyebrows. He is, after all, now the most expensive overseas player in the Indian Premier League.
Quite honestly, we had a very clear-cut strategy. The one gap in our team was a genuine fast bowling all-rounder. And Ben Stokes fits that bill completely. He's a complete player. The second approach we took is that we are going to go for a player who can give us 3-4 matches, who can win 3-4 matches for us on his own. We have many other potential match winners, and Ben Stokes is an addition to that. So I think that was the strategy, and we said that we will actually go in for a very strong playing 11, and even if the bench strength doesn't get that strong, that's fine. So that was the strategy, that was the approach that we took.
All right, overall, Mr. Goenka, would you say that the team management at the Rising Pune Supergiants is happy with the players that you bought? You, of course, have players like Stokes in your team now. You also have Dan Christian and Manoj Tiwari to go with the players, of course, that you retained after season 9, of course.
Yes, I think it looks a significantly more balanced side than the previous year. I think it's a good side, it's a good team, it's a good balance. And the captain is happy, the coach is happy, I'm happy, the team management is happy.
Right, Keshav, your team, the Gujarat Lions, of course, made a great impression in its maiden season last year in the IPL. You finished first after the group stage in 2016 and third overall. That must have been a huge motivation, really, when you were drawing up your strategies for season 2 for your team.
Thank you so much, first of all. Certainly, it was, I mean, it was kind of a dream run, you know, dream debut run. Coming in the first season, finishing at the top of the league table, the only team to win 9 matches, it's completely a dream come true. It does definitely give a lot of motivation, and you get that positive kick to even perform further better. So the entire team is completely motivated. We all are very positive. We all are looking forward towards performing even better. The idea, at the same time, we have to analyze our weaknesses, our areas where we could improve on. So that was the strategy. I mean, the areas which we think we could improve on, that's what we went in the auction for.
Right, Mr. Goenka, let's now talk about the other thing that's been making headlines after the auction. Some of the India seniors, the old Indian war horses who went unsold, the likes of Ishant Sharma, Irfan Pathan, Cheteshwar Pujara, etc. Now, Ishant and Irfan were in fact part of your franchise before they were released. Surprising that they were not bought, you think?
So we dropped Ishant and Irfan. They were part of our team. You see, you have to look at people who are completely performance-oriented, not people who feel they've achieved it all. You need to have a drive, you need to have a hunger for greater excellence. I think Virat Kohli is the epitome of redefining standards on a regular basis. And he has taken the Indian cricket team to a different level. So I think every team would look to have a fitter, younger, more energetic, more athletic team, and a more driven team.
Right, so clearly you wanted players who still have that drive left in them to go out there and perform and put in their 100% every single time. Keshav, wanted to take your reaction on that as well. Was it surprising as a team owner yourself to see the likes of Ishant and Irfan go unsold?
It's not really very surprising. You see, there are so many formats, and certain players fit only certain formats. So it's every team's understanding. I mean, some players, if I talk about RPS, he was a purple cap holder at one point of time. So it depends. I mean, you have to evolve with time. Every team does their homework. Many times people don't find the player in the best of the form or fitting in the best of the scheme of things which they're looking for. See, T20 is a very aggressive and a fearless game. You have to be on your toes throughout the time. So that is what every team owner and the management thinks about, having the player who can go out, show out their real character and just go for it and not look back at all. You have to be really aggressive. So probably, with the performance seen in the recent times, others might not be really comfortable having them, these players in their teams.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it at that. But all the very best to both of you and your teams for season 10 of the IPL. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thanks so much.